I remember that night like it was yesterday, but everything's blurry now. Kayla's mom's retirement party was at this golf resort. Her parents, Walter and Priscilla, were grinning ear to ear as they played host. The place reeked of wealth. Oak-paneled walls, crystal chandeliers, the works. Kayla looked gorgeous as always, her makeup flawless. Her hair pulled back in some trendy updo. I didn't really care to try to understand. I'd been with her for 2 years now, engaged for 3 months, but I still felt like I didn't belong in their world. They never said it, but I could feel it. I wasn't good enough for their daughter. I wasn't fancy enough. Kayla's mom, Priscilla, always treated me like I was some kind of lottery ticket. The whole "we love you, but" vibe. Walter didn't even try to hide it. I was doing okay for myself, running a chain of auto body repair shops. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills. For $100,000 a year. I wasn't swimming in cash, but I wasn't drowning either. And that was enough for me. Kayla was doing her freelance makeup thing. She had her YouTube channel, some Instagram brand deals, but it was nowhere near the kind of income her parents had in mind. During her speech, she stood up and cracked a joke. "I'm marrying him for his sweet, sweet money, obviously," she said. Everyone laughed. Kayla was always the center of attention, and people ate up everything she said. I kind of forced a laugh along with them, but inside I wasn't laughing. I clinked my glass, leaning in to say, "Good thing we locked in that cohabitation agreement this morning. Right, babe?" She froze. Her face went from rosy to ghostly pale in an instant. Her dad, Walter, looked like someone slapped him across the face. For a split second, I thought I saw a flicker of relief in his eyes. I sipped my drink and smiled, the kind of smile that felt like it could shatter at any second. I hadn't even finished swallowing the last sip of my drink when Kayla grabbed my arm, her fingers tight and shaking. "What agreement? I didn't sign anything like that." Her voice was louder than she probably meant it to be. I could feel eyes on us from across the room, but I didn't care. I gave her a look that felt like it should have been obvious. "The papers you signed this morning. Over breakfast, babe. You thought they were venue bookings. I told you they were just a formality." Her eyes went wide. "You lied to me?" I shrugged. "It wasn't a lie, just a clarification." I tried to keep my tone calm, but I could feel the tension building like a pressure cooker. "They were drafted by my business lawyer. They're not legally binding prenups. Just a decoy, a cohabitation agreement. Nothing more." Her breath caught, and I saw her face pale like a ghost. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. "You manipulated me," she finally spat, her voice shaking with a mixture of anger and disbelief. I didn't flinch. "You're the one who just made a joke about marrying me for my money. You basically admitted it to everyone here." The words hit her like a slap. She took a step back, her eyes wide, nostrils flaring. "You think this is funny? You think it's funny to set me up like that in front of my family? To embarrass me?" She looked like she was about to explode, her hands shaking, her chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. She grabbed her clutch, and without another word, stormed off. I watched her storm into the party, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. And then the sound of her crying reached my ears, muffled by the chatter of the guests. The scene burned in my mind. I wasn't even sure what I was feeling anymore. Anger? Frustration? Confusion? Maybe all of it. But one thing was clear. Things were already spiraling out of control. I turned on my heel, making my way out the door. The cool air hit me immediately, the night quiet except for the distant hum of the resort. I pulled out my phone and called Marcus, my buddy from high school who'd been filming everything. He'd caught the whole scene on camera. "Get that video backed up," I said, my voice tight. "I already did," he replied, calm as ever. I let out a breath, trying to shake off the knot that was tightening in my stomach. "You saw it, right?" I asked. "Saw the way she admitted it?" "Yeah," Marcus said, and I could hear the amusement in his voice. "She really did walk right into that one. People love that kind of stuff online. Trust me, you'll be fine." I didn't respond right away. It didn't feel like anything was fine. I could already hear her voice in my head, accusing me of trapping her, manipulating her. But the way she reacted in front of everyone, it wasn't on me. That was all her. "I'm not doing this for the drama," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I don't want to be the bad guy here, but she's not going to turn this around on me." Marcus was silent for a moment, then said, "Just keep it cool, man. We got your back." I slipped the phone into my pocket and took a breath. My fingers clenched. She'd left me no choice, not after she'd thrown me under the bus like that. Inside, the party hadn't slowed down. I could see Kayla, now surrounded by her parents. She was still crying, her makeup a mess, but the way they looked at her was the worst part. They weren't horrified by her outburst. They were horrified by me. The sudden realization hit me. I was the one who'd be the villain in her story, not her. Not with all the tears and the accusations flying around. Not with the sympathy they'd throw her way. I wasn't about to let that happen. I grabbed another drink, swallowed it in one shot, and dialed Marcus again. "You think anyone got that footage yet?" I asked, keeping my voice low as I tried to stay under the radar. "Already up," Marcus replied. "People are eating it up. Comments are starting to roll in." I chuckled, a cold, sharp sound that didn't even sound like me. "Good," I said. "Let's see how fast she wants to clean up the mess she made." The day after the party, I woke up to a text from Kayla. It wasn't a message, just a picture of a note she'd left on the kitchen counter. It read, "I can't do this. You've manipulated me. You've been emotionally abusive. I'm going to my parents' house. Don't try to contact me." I stared at it for a second, waiting for something to hit me, but all I felt was numb. This wasn't a surprise. She had this knack for flipping everything around when things went sideways. But the Jeep, the one I'd bought her 6 months ago, it was gone too. She took it. That's when I got the call from Priscilla. Her voice was tight, strained. "You've ruined Kayla's life, you know that?" I was already tired of hearing this. Tired of their version of the story where I was the villain. So I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't say there was a binding agreement. She assumed that, and now she's panicking. "Don't twist this," Priscilla shot back. "You've manipulated her into thinking you're some kind of financial trap." I laughed even though I didn't feel like laughing. "No, she admitted it herself. She joked about marrying me for money in front of everyone. She made her own bed." There was a long silence on the other end. Then she spoke softer now. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're hurting her." I could feel my blood starting to heat. "She's the one who wanted to turn this into some kind of public spectacle, Priscilla. I'm not the one who made that joke about marriage being about money." She hung up on me without saying goodbye. I let out a deep breath, rubbed my temples, and tried to focus. My phone buzzed again. It was Walter. He didn't waste time getting to the point. "The cohabitation agreement, was that real?" I didn't hesitate. "No, it wasn't real." A long pause, so long that I thought he'd hung up. Finally, he spoke. "That tells me everything." His voice was flat, emotionless. "You might have just saved yourself a lifetime of regret." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just stayed quiet. What could I say? There was nothing left to say. The man was right. Kayla had shown her cards. And as much as I wanted to make it all work, the pieces weren't fitting anymore. I went online after that. I had to see what was happening. I knew Kayla would be playing the victim. It was only a matter of time. Sure enough, she was already on Instagram Live, tears streaming down her face, talking about how blindsided she was by legal traps and emotional control. I sat there watching her, seething. She didn't even have the decency to tell the truth. The whole world was getting the soft, sad Kayla version of the story. The one where I was the manipulative bad guy, and she was just some poor woman caught in a trap. I didn't get to the comments before Marcus messaged me. "Video is up. Raw footage." I clicked on the link, and there it was, unfiltered, unedited. The whole thing. Her speech. Her money joke. My response. The whole damn night. Every second of it. I watched the video again, this time with a sick satisfaction. The more I saw it, the more I realized how badly she'd messed up. She couldn't control the narrative anymore. Not when the truth was staring everyone in the face. And the internet caught fire. Fast. The comments went from sympathetic to brutal in a matter of minutes. She said that out loud? He never said the agreement was real. She literally said she was marrying for money. People were tearing her apart. Couldn't help it. I smiled. A small, tight smile that felt like vindication. Kayla thought she could just spin the story her way. But now there was proof. The truth was out there, and she couldn't take it back. I sat back, watching the chaos unfold, and waited for her next move. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The shift was quick. It was like flipping a light switch. In the beginning, the comments were all about how awful I was. People lined up to call me every name in the book. Manipulative, controlling, cold-hearted. I got it. She'd spun it well, made me the villain. It was easy for her to paint that picture, and the internet loved a good villain. But then it started to change. Slowly at first, like people were waking up to something they hadn't noticed. She really just said that out loud? Someone wrote. Hold up. He never said the agreement was real. Wait, what? She's actually admitting she's marrying him for his money? The tide shifted. The comments turned, and not just a little. It was like a storm rolling in, and Kayla's fans were starting to question everything. Her own followers turned on her. People who had supported her for years began digging into her. That's when she made her move. She went on another live stream, crying harder this time, claiming that the video was edited. They cut out the part where he tricked me into signing stuff, she shouted. They edited the video to make me look bad. This isn't what happened. I wasn't buying it. I knew the raw footage was the real deal. Marcus had already posted the entire 97-minute video. Every second of it. Her speech, the awkward jokes, my calm response. Everything. No edits, no spins. Just the truth. My phone buzzed again. My lawyer, a guy named Greg. Is the Jeep in your name? I didn't hesitate. Yes. You want it back? I felt a weird calm settle in. Yes. Consider it done. Repossession is arranged. The next morning, like clockwork, I saw the notification that the Jeep had been picked up. The thing was, Kayla didn't have any idea what was coming. It didn't take long for her to figure it out. The phone rang, but it wasn't Kayla's number. It was Sierra's, her friend. I knew what was coming. Did you steal her car? Sierra screamed through the line, her voice sharp with rage. I was calm. I didn't steal anything. I bought that car. It's in my name, so it's mine. I've got the paperwork. You want me to send it to you? She didn't say anything for a second. I could hear her breathing, like she was trying to process it. I'm not done here, she snapped finally. Kayla's not letting you get away with this. I chuckled. Felt like the only thing left to do. She can try, but she can't prove it was a gift. And that car's mine now. I hung up before she could say anything else. 15 minutes later, my phone rang again, this time with Priscilla's name on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but I did. I had to. You need to return Kayla's car, Priscilla demanded, her tone cold as ice. You have no right to take it. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the rush of adrenaline settle into something calmer. No, I don't owe her anything anymore. She showed who she really is. And you just showed me who you are. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, her voice came back, lower now, but still stern. You'll regret this. I felt the words land like stones. She didn't get it. None of them did. No, Priscilla. I think you're the one who'll regret it. The call ended with a soft click, and I sat there, staring at the phone for a long time. Kayla was gone. Her parents were circling the wagons, and everything that had happened felt like it was finally unraveling in front of me. But the only thing I felt was relief. It was a few hours after the call with Priscilla when I got a message from Sierra. I almost didn't open it, figuring it was just more of her side trying to manipulate the situation. But when I saw the preview, my thumb hovered. It was a series of screenshots. You should know something, Sierra wrote, her message popping up right under the images. I didn't know what I expected, but it wasn't what I found. The first thing was a Pinterest board titled Secure the Life. I stared at it for a long time, trying to process what I was seeing. There were pictures of my shop, my house, and my truck. Each one had captions like, "Our next upgrade" or "Our future dream." It was like a blueprint for her future, laid out in front of me. I scrolled through more images: vacation homes, luxury cars, the kind of lifestyle Kayla had always dreamed about. But it wasn't just about the material things. There were captions on each one. Things like, "Gotta lock him down fast," and "Get pregnant ASAP so we're set for life." It didn't hit me all at once. At first, it was just a jumbled mess in my head. But then it clicked. This wasn't about love. This wasn't about a relationship. This was about getting in, securing a future, and walking away with everything when it went south. It was all laid out: plans, dates, contingencies. Then I saw the group chat. The messages were worse. Much worse. One of the messages said, "Just gotta avoid signing anything. I'll fake anxiety to get out of paperwork." I felt the blood drain from my face when I saw it. She had planned to play me, to make me think she was scared, unstable, anything to get out of any real commitments. I didn't know what to do with all of this. I had to show Walter. I had to. He needed to see who his daughter really was. I forwarded everything to him. Every screenshot, every plan, every message. It was the only way. I wasn't going to let her twist everything and make me look like the bad guy when she was the one with a blueprint for manipulation. The response came quickly. Just one word. Unbelievable. That was it. I stared at his reply for a long time, trying to read into it. There was no follow-up, no explanation, nothing more. What did that mean? I didn't get it, but I didn't need to. He knew. Kayla's whole game was laid bare, and there was no way she could spin it this time. Her father knew. He saw it all. And no matter how much she tried to control the narrative, the truth was out there now. Couldn't be taken back. I stared at my phone, the silence in my apartment pressing in on me. I knew Kayla wouldn't give up easily. She'd keep spinning the story, twisting the facts. But for once, the truth had the upper hand. And I wasn't about to let her take that away. The next morning, Walter called. His voice was colder than it had ever been. "I've seen enough," he said, his words flat, like he was reading a script. "She's cut off." I froze. "What do you mean, cut off?" "I'm canceling her credit cards. She has 30 days to get out. No more allowance. No more bills paid." I didn't know what to say at first. This wasn't what I was expecting. Not from Walter. "You sure about this?" I asked, my voice almost a whisper. He didn't hesitate. "I gave her everything," he said, his voice tight now, almost regretful. "And she turned into this." The silence between us stretched. I could feel the weight of what he was saying, and I wasn't sure whether to feel relief or guilt. It wasn't like I wanted this for Kayla. Hell, I didn't even want it for me. But this was the reality she'd built for herself, and it was falling apart. "I never expected this from her," Walter added. "You did the right thing." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "I don't know, man. I never wanted to be the bad guy in her story." "You're not the bad guy," he said, his voice quieter now, like he was speaking more to himself than to me. "She is. And it's about time she sees that." Priscilla called right after. She didn't even try to sound sympathetic. "You don't understand what you've done. This is ruining her. We've spent years building her up, and now you've destroyed everything." I was calm when I answered. "You didn't have to buy her everything, Priscilla. You didn't have to set her up to expect a life that wasn't hers to take." Her silence was sharp. "She's our daughter. We only wanted what's best for her." "I know," I said. "But this wasn't it." There was no apology, no empathy. Just a short, bitter conversation about how she couldn't believe what Kayla had done. Then, the phone rang again, this time from a new number. Kayla. She didn't even let it ring twice before she started screaming. "What did you tell my dad?" she yelled, and the desperation in her voice was thick. I sighed, rubbing my eyes. "The truth, Kayla. Everything. He knows everything." She didn't take that well. She started crying, her voice breaking. "You've ruined me. You've ruined my whole life." I could feel the anger rising in me. She was still spinning it, still trying to play the victim. I didn't ruin anything. You did that on your own. She screamed, but I couldn't make out the words. Just noise. You're an asshole. She finally spat through clenched teeth. I'll never forgive you for this. I leaned back in my chair, thinking for a second. That makes it easier then, doesn't it? There was a long pause. I could almost hear her trying to catch her breath. You don't mean that. I do, I said. I've been telling you for months now. I'm not the guy you want me to be, and that's fine. But you're not the person I thought you were either. She hung up before I could say anything else, and I didn't chase her. There was nothing left to say. The damage had been done, but it wasn't on me. Not anymore. It was a Monday when Kayla showed up at my office. I didn't expect her to come here of all places, but there she was, standing in the lobby when security called. She's insisting on seeing you, boss, the guard said, his voice a little unsure. She looks upset. Should we let her through? I already knew what was coming. I told him to send her up. When she walked through the door, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked wrecked. Hair pulled back in some messy bun. No makeup, her face puffy from crying. Her clothes were loose. Sweats, like she hadn't bothered to care. She didn't look like the Kayla I'd been with, not even close. She was a mess, and I wasn't sure if I should feel bad about it. Please, she said before I could even open my mouth. She was close to breaking down again. Please, I need to talk to you. I've made a huge mistake. I know I've screwed up, but I need you to listen. I didn't move. I just stood there, leaning against my desk, watching her struggle to pull herself together. She wiped her eyes, trying to force a smile that didn't quite reach her face. The plans were just jokes, she said, her voice shaking. I didn't mean it. The screenshots, those were taken out of context. You have to believe me. I didn't say anything right away. I was still processing the mess that had unfolded. Sierra sent them directly to me, Kayla. No context needed. I saw everything you planned. She froze, eyes wide. Sierra? You believe her? You're listening to her. I crossed my arms. She showed me the truth, and you're still trying to cover it up. She sank into one of the chairs in front of my desk, hands trembling in her lap. I wasn't thinking clearly. Everything spiraled so fast and I cut her off. Kayla, we're done. There's nothing left to talk about. Her face twisted, like she couldn't believe what I was saying. Then, she stood up so suddenly that I almost took a step back. No, I'm not going to just let you walk away from this. You can't do this to me. I didn't even flinch. It's already done. Her voice went from desperate to angry in an instant. I'm not letting you take the ring. She pointed at the engagement ring, the $45,000 cushion diamond I'd given her. I looked down at my hand, at the ring she was talking about, and then back at her. It's not your ring anymore, Kayla. Engagement rings are conditional gifts. No wedding, no ring. Her jaw dropped, eyes wide with disbelief. You can't be serious. You're going to take it back? After everything? I'm serious, I said, my voice firm. I'm not going to sit here and let you act like none of this happened. You don't get to keep it. She stepped toward me, trembling now. Please don't. Please. I love you. This was a mistake. I can't lose you. I shook my head. You already lost me. You did that when you showed who you really are. She didn't take it well. She went from sobbing to shouting, her face flushed with rage. I gave up everything for you. Everything. And now you're just going to walk away? You're taking everything I've worked for. I just stood there, watching her, the anger in her eyes burning through me. I didn't feel bad for her. Not anymore. Before I could say anything else, she stormed out, tears streaking down her face. I watched her leave the office, a cold knot in my stomach. But it wasn't regret. It was something else, something I couldn't place just yet. A few minutes later, security called again. Boss, we've got a situation. Kayla's out in the parking lot. She just keyed your truck. I didn't move right away. Part of me knew it was coming. The second the words left her mouth, I felt that sick satisfaction again. Like she was unraveling, and I didn't have to do a thing. "Get the footage," I told the guard, "and call the police." Sure enough, the cameras had caught her. She didn't just scratch the truck. She keyed it down the entire side, leaving deep gouges. The police report was filed, and my insurance company approved the claim by the end of the day. I watched the footage once, just to make sure it was as bad as I thought. She was in full meltdown mode, and I could feel a cold kind of detachment settling in. It wasn't the rage I thought I'd feel, watching her destroy something that mattered to me. It was relief. Finally, it was over. But even as I sat there, watching the damage she'd done, I couldn't help but wonder where she'd go from here. This wasn't just the end of us. It was the end of her plan. And I didn't think she had a clue what came next. 2 weeks later, I found myself sitting at my kitchen table, staring at a pile of wedding-related bills. The wedding was supposed to be in 3 months, but now it was just a joke. Deposits were gone, non-refundable, of course. My stomach tightened when I saw the balance for the venue, the caterer, the photographer. Worth it didn't even cover it. I'd rather lose that money than deal with Kayla anymore. She was on social media constantly now, sharing her side of the story. A new Instagram post popped up one day, a close-up of her face, red from crying. The caption read, "Starting over after abuse." I couldn't help but laugh. She had the gall to paint herself as the victim after everything she'd pulled. The comments didn't lie, though. They started out with sympathy, but it didn't take long for people to ask questions. "What happened to the Jeep?" someone asked, probably out of pure curiosity. She responded with, "It was a gift." I'm sure that made sense to her followers, but not to anyone who'd been paying attention. The truth was already out there. People weren't buying her version of events. Not even close. And it wasn't just online. Her life was unraveling fast. I heard from a friend of mine that Kayla had been couch surfing, staying with different people every few nights. No job, no brand deals. Social engagement was tanking, dropping lower than I'd ever seen it. People weren't buying her sad girl act anymore. Then Priscilla reached out again. I braced myself for what she'd say this time. "Just so you know," she said, "Kayla's planning to sue you." I rolled my eyes as she went on, listing all the claims. Emotional distress, breach of promise, and of course, lifestyle loss. I couldn't even process how absurd it all was. My lawyer called it laughable, too. He just shook his head when I showed him the claim. "She's digging for anything. We'll shoot it down easily. It's ridiculous." But then there was something else. Texts from Kayla's exes started popping up. One of them, a guy I'd never heard of, shot me a message that said, "She asked if you were abusive." I said, "Hell no." I laughed. That was one hell of a twist. An ex who wouldn't take her side? That told me everything I needed to know. Another ex texted a few minutes later. "She told me you were a manipulator." I told her to get therapy. That hit hard. For all the noise she was making, she was still trying to play the same old game. And her exes saw through it too. The thing that got to me, though, I couldn't stop thinking about how much damage she'd done to herself. There she was, spinning her wheels, trying to make everyone believe she was some kind of victim. But the people who knew her, really knew her, weren't backing her up. Not her exes, not her parents, and certainly not the people she'd burned to get ahead. I knew she was trying to pull herself together somehow, but it was all crumbling down. And even as I watched her world collapse, I felt nothing but distance. What we had, it was long gone, lost in the mess she created. If anything, I felt lighter now, free from the weight of the lie she'd been trying to sell. And no matter how much she screamed about being wronged, it didn't change a damn thing. A few days after all the back and forth with Kayla's exes and her ridiculous claims, I got a letter from her lawyer. My stomach twisted as I opened it. It was a settlement demand, $150,000, and a public apology. I nearly laughed out loud. For what? I passed it to my lawyer. He shook his head, barely looking up from the letter. "This is just her trying to save face. You've got a good case for everything." "I'm not paying her a dime," I said, feeling my anger rise. "And no apology. She can't sue me for something that wasn't my fault." "Exactly," he agreed. "In fact, we should countersue for truck damages. Get a claim in for that." We've got the footage. I nodded, feeling a little relief. At least someone was on my side in all this mess. I filed the countersuit and guess what? We never heard back. Not a peep. A few weeks later, I went ahead and filed for the return of the engagement ring. It felt weird to do it, but the truth was that ring wasn't hers to keep. And I wasn't about to let her get away with anything else. The small claims court hearing was quick. The judge didn't even blink. Engagement rings are conditional gifts, he said. No marriage, no ring. Kayla had to return it, and on top of that, she was ordered to pay court costs. I got the ring back a few weeks later, and I didn't waste any time. I sold it for $38,000. Felt like a weight lifted, getting rid of it. I took half the money and donated it to a nonprofit that teaches young men financial skills. It wasn't about the money. It was about something else. Helping people avoid the kind of traps I'd been caught in with Kayla. I felt good about that. The whole thing felt like a final chapter, but then out of nowhere, Walter called. He asked if I wanted to play a round of golf. I was surprised at first, but then I realized it made sense. He didn't know what else to do with himself now that his daughter had basically burned every bridge she'd ever built. We played a round at the same club where Kayla had thrown her little tantrum. The place looked different now, emptier in a way. The sun was out, but it didn't feel as bright. We didn't talk much at first. He was too busy lining up shots, trying to pretend like he didn't know what had happened. But eventually, he said something I didn't expect. I should have seen it sooner. I just didn't want to believe it. I always thought I was giving her what she needed. I get it, I said, trying to keep my voice level. But you can't help someone who doesn't want to change. He sighed, taking another swing. I know, but I should have known better. I should have helped her understand what it takes to really earn something, not just take it. After a long pause, he changed the subject. I've started a foundation, he said, for financial literacy. Well, it's a start. I'm hoping it can make a real difference. I glanced at him. Sounds like a good idea. You need help with it? He looked at me, almost like he was hesitant to ask. Actually, yes. I'd be honored if you'd sit on the board. I didn't hesitate. I'll do it. A few days later, I found out Kayla had applied for a grant from the foundation. I wasn't sure if Walter knew or if she had somehow figured out a way to get in the mix, but when the email came through that she'd been denied, it felt like some kind of cosmic justice. I didn't say anything to Walter about it. I didn't need to. I think he knew, deep down, it wasn't going to happen. Kayla had burned too many bridges, and now she was trying to use the one thing left that could still make a difference, his name. But she wasn't going to get that from him anymore. Things had finally started to feel like they were falling into place. She was out of the picture for good, and I had my own path to walk now. The weekend that was supposed to be my wedding weekend turned into something completely different. Marcus and a couple of our friends had the idea to head to Miami, get away from everything. It wasn't like I had anything left to do anyway. So, we rented jet skis, drank beers, and watched the sunset like we had no care in the world. It wasn't exactly what I'd imagined for myself, but it felt damn good. Kayla's posts were still coming through my feed, though, even though I was trying to block it all out. I'd muted her, but the train wreck was hard to ignore. She was working retail now at some mall, barely scraping by. I heard through the grapevine she was rooming with 3 people in a cheap apartment. Somehow, that didn't surprise me. She'd always lived off of others, expecting everything handed to her. Her latest post was about being twice betrayed, a little sob story for the world to see. She was dating some wannabe investor now. Guy had hustler written all over him. Her followers bought into it, of course, feeding her with sympathy. Marcus, not one for holding back, dropped a comment, "Date better next time." I laughed when I saw it, but it didn't last long. Kayla deleted it almost immediately. The next post she shared was about how her new guy had convinced her to sink her last savings into some guaranteed crypto flip. That one felt like a punchline. Of course, it flopped. She posted another crying video. More tears. More poor me nonsense. This time, I didn't even waste my time watching it. I just cracked open a beer, sat back, and watched the video in silence. It felt almost satisfying in a way. seeing her drown in her own mistakes, when I knew I was long past it all. A few weeks later, I met Lauren. We hit it off right away. She was sharp, funny, and had her life together. We started talking more seriously, and on our first date, she casually dropped a bombshell. "If we ever get serious," she said, swirling her wine, "I'm signing a prenup." I couldn't help myself. I laughed harder than I had in months. It wasn't even that funny, but something about how upfront she was, how real, just made me feel lighter. Lauren didn't flinch when I kept laughing. She just smiled. "I've seen how people work, and I'm not about to be the next person to get burned." I liked that. She wasn't out to play games. We were both on the same page. It felt like a clean break, like I was finally moving forward. And Kayla? She was still out there trying to pick up the pieces, but I was done. The past was behind me,